Hi, this is Ms. Vanoy, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to give more detail within the two-seek strategy when you're writing your body paragraphs. So this is kind of a video that needs to be watched after we've talked about what two-seek even is, how to use that with the body paragraphs, and also the strategy of ICE, because all of it starts to go together. And I know even as the teacher, when I was putting all these lessons together, the more I worked one right after another, I realized how much they're all interconnected, and it made it so much more or so much less overwhelming for me, and hopefully it does for you too. So the topic we're going to talk about today is digging in a little bit deeper to those paragraphs. We talked about how to format the paragraph with the topic sentence and evidence and elaboration and so on. But now we're going to talk about, well, how do you find that evidence? What kind of evidence do we look for when we are writing supporting details for a paper, writing piece, letter, whatever it is? So this is the 4 different ways that we can use to write supporting details, which are, we can find facts, we can find statistics, examples, and then we have flashbacks. And I wanted you to remember this mental model of how there's the triangle with it starts out broadly, we got the hook, you introduce, and then you've got that thesis. Everything has to go back to that thesis and support that. The very first topic sentence is going to of the body is going to support one of your big ideas, reasons from your hook or from your introduction. And then the second supporting detail is going to be in that next body paragraph and so on. Today, we're going to focus on not the overall, like we've talked about a lot on other videos and in other days in class, but we're going to focus in on that evidence and a little bit of that elaboration part too. The first step when you need to have more details to your writing, when a teacher says you didn't write enough, or you just look at your paper and know you didn't write enough and you just need something else, the first step is to go back to the text. If you are ever given any kind of text to pull information from, that is what you need to do. If the teacher says either you've got to find your own resources in life, if it's something you've got to find, or if it's like an on-demand prompt and they give you like 5 things to read, you need to go back to that text to find evidence. And you're looking for things, the evidence that supports what your original thesis statement is. You have to think about, how do I support those reasons and big ideas? Now, there are 4 different types of ways to find evidence. You've got fact, statistic, example, and flashback. But the more I thought about that, the more I realized I could categorize them as text-based, and the other type is where you pull from your own experiences. So fact and statistic are the first 2 I want to talk about, because I feel like that is the 2 that you're going to use the most often on-demand prompts, or just writing in general. When you have to have facts to back up what you are saying or what your opinion is or what your argument is, you need to be able to go back to that text and find facts from the text and statistics. Facts and statistics are very similar. There's only one difference, which is statistics have to do with number. Now, if you're ever going to be writing, let's say you do an on-demand, the 40-minute prompts where you don't have anything to read, where you're just supposed to pull from your own life experiences, that's when you can start using more examples and flashbacks, and we'll talk about them towards the end of the video. So text-based comes straight from your research. That's facts and statistics. You want to pay attention to the prompt, because in the prompt, it's going to tell you how many well, I'll say this. Sometimes you'll have 5 pieces of writing to read. You'll have 5 pieces of research. And it'll say, okay, you've got to read all of them, but you've got to pull at least three evidence from 3 different sources. So you need to be aware of that you're going to have to look for evidence in different sources. So definitely that's why that's really important, is to pay attention to the prompt there. Direct quotations and paraphrasing is the main way that you'll be pulling information when you're looking for facts. Make sure that when you're quoting facts, you remember that ICE strategy, where you introduce, cite, and explain, which goes right along with evidence and elaboration. Just adds that little I in there that helps you as far as formatting your sentences, because you will have to tell where you got it. If you get any information from research, you want to make sure that you do the in-text citations, that you've got embedded citations. So you've got it inside of your writing. You'll have the parentheses with what page number you found it on, and so on. Fact is the first thing. I've got the little ICE thing on the side just to keep reminding you and reinforcing you how all our writing strategies do work together. You're going to find facts from an authority, a newspaper, a magazine, a books, the text that you're told to research, encyclopedias, websites that have been vetted to be credible sources. The fact is going to emphasize your topic sentence. You'll see that with every type of supporting detail, it's got to emphasize that supporting sentences. Here it says facts have a minimum of 2 sentences. You've got to at least give the evidence and elaborate. You're going to begin with the transition, and here they suggest things like in fact, according to, and a recent study by. And I'm not going to go through and read all the different suggestions, but it's definitely something that you want to look at and keep in your writer's toolbox, because those are phrases that you can pull out and use whenever you get stuck and you don't know what to write next. You want to actually state whatever the fact is, and you'll give the page number that you found it from. You'll make sure to cite the evidence, and not just the page number, but you'll tell, according to this study, or according to this paper, or according to this article. You have to actually give the name of the article or the author of it, so that you have attributed it to the right person. You've introduced it. And then you're going to end with that elaboration of, as you can see, therefore, furthermore, and so on. So, for example, I have the topic sentence for the very first body paragraph. It says GMS needs recess because teenagers are not getting enough exercise. So what I did was I referred back to my topic sentence, and I knew I had to find some sort of evidence that would support that. So I went to my research and I found a fact. According to a recent Middle School Association study, teenagers are unhealthy due to lack of physical activity, are unhealthier, I think this was not worded right, than teenagers 20 years ago. 105 parentheses around that, so we know where we got it. Recess is a time we can put aside to encourage more exercise. That's where I actually cite where it came from. And then, as proven, we need more exercise time in our day so that teenagers can be healthy. So you want to have kind of a full writing around where you've told what the fact is and you've explained it in your own words. Statistics, again, it's like a fact, but it has numbers. You begin with that transition, you write a sentence with that statistic, and you end with something like therefore, furthermore, as proven, and so on. Again, to support GMS needs recess because teenagers are not getting enough exercise, I went back to my text, and I found a statistic that said, according to the Science Journal, teenagers are not getting enough exercise. 70% of teenagers are not exercising enough. So I went back and I found a percentage, that's a statistic that tells us exactly how many teenagers are not getting enough exercise, which supports my main topic sentence, which is that teenagers are not getting enough exercise. Then you have to have a transition where you, this proves, as you can see, furthermore, therefore, have some kind of transition that helps you know that you're going to have to go ahead and write it in your own words and elaborate. Now, the next two I'm going to talk about are from your personal experience. The difference between example and flashback, though, is that examples are going to be it's something that you've experienced in life, or you've heard about, or you've seen in a movie, or you heard from a friend. That's what an example is going to be. It could be kind of removed from just you. You're not necessarily the primary source of it. You're repeating something that you know of. It, again, will connect to that topic and thesis. And a word of advice, you don't ever want to use an example and a flashback in the same paragraph. They're very similar, so you want to make sure that you spread that out, because then it becomes too much about what you think, what you feel. Begin with that transition. For example, for instance, write some sentences about how that event experienced, how that happened in the world, and how that supports what your topic sentence is. And in that sentence with a transition word, just like we talked about all the others, as you can see, by the same token, as illustrated. This shows, this proves. Again, that topic sentence is about how teenagers need to have recess because they don't get enough exercise. I'd begin with the transition of, for example, without recess, the teenagers, we don't have as much time for physical activity during the day. My friends say recess is what they miss the most when they come to middle school, because without it, they do not get the time to get rid of excess energy. So you talked about something that your friends had told you about. So, for example, my friends feel this way. And that was a really good way to support that topic sentence. And if you had just stopped right after where they said my friends say recess is what they miss the most when they come to middle school. If you had stopped right there, it probably wouldn't have been enough. You've got to make sure whatever kind of example that you give ties back to that topic sentence and supports that topic and therefore the thesis. And then you can end with a transition, just like we've talked about before. As you can see, having time to unwind and run around is important exercise for teenagers too. Now, flashbacks you are front and center. It's something that you remember, something that you think about. It starts with I remember. A flashback's always going to start with you. I remember this. Tell specifically what you remember using details that supports that topic, sentence, and thesis. And then you're going to end it with the transition of looking back. And that shows that you're reflecting on what you've shared and how that supports the topic sentence. Example of that would be, I remember how healthy and fit I felt after a fun time at recess in elementary school. Getting to run and play physical games forced me to exercise in a fun way that benefited my health. So I elaborated on that. I could have even put in a transition of, this shows that getting to run and play physical games. You can add those transitions if that helps you more. And then I'm going to end with that reflection. Looking back, I'm glad this time was provided for us because it was fun and beneficial to our health. Now, on the next two slides, I'm going to show you what it looks like to put a topic sentence, 4 different pieces of evidence, 4 different elaborations, and then a concluding sentence. I want you to see how we followed this really, pretty strict format, and we kind of wrote it sentence by sentence. But when you put it together in in paragraph form, it looks so professional. It's full of words, or it makes you. This is an easy format to follow that makes you look like makes you a distinguished writer, because that's helping you remember all the different parts of the writing piece that you have to make sure you gave enough detail. Now, disclaimer, I did change some of the transitions around, and I did add in that concluding sentence because I just wanted to make sure it wasn't too repetitive when we put all the we put all the pieces of evidence together. As a reminder, this is the color code key. We've got topic sentence in green, blue and yellow are evidence and elaboration, and then we've got a concluding sentence. Notice how all the strategies I've talked about all interconnect. They all work together and they all help each other and will help you become a better writer. So here's an example of a paragraph. You've got the topic sentence, GMS needs recess because teenagers are not getting enough exercise. You've got a fact, you elaborated. You have a statistic, you elaborated. Example, elaboration, flashback, elaboration. And that very last sentence, highlighted in orange, is your concluding sentence. Recess would be a great way for teenagers to get more exercise. So look at this nice, healthy paragraph. This is the kind of paragraph when someone reads, they look and they think, okay, they've given me a lot of different reasons. They know what they're talking about. They have supported it fully. This would be like a distinguished example of a writing piece, or of a writing of the body paragraph. Thank you for staying with me for this time. Hopefully this helps, and I will be back with some more information on something again, I'm sure, soon. Bye.